Hey everyone, welcome to this next video. In this video, we're going to begin to dive into page creation in our Apollo project. I'm going to use the Apollo project, but this is going to apply to any hybrid project where you have ApostropheCMS as the back end and Astro as the front end. So in this video, as I said, we're going to start to dig into how we create pages within our project. And then in the next couple of videos, we're going to round that out. We're going to dive into the back-end schema and the front-end schema and such like that. But for right now, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit more about project structure. If you're coming from Apostrophe, the Apostrophe CMS development world, a lot of this is going to look quite familiar. As far as the back end, what's not going to look familiar is the front end and the components, how we make our pages in Astro, and vice versa. If you're coming from an Astro development background, that front end is going to make a lot of sense to you, is going to look very familiar, and the back end is going to be a little bit more foreign. So once again, our project is divided into two parts. So we have a backend. The backend is where our Apostrophe CMS code is going to live. We have our project level modules where we have things like our pages, which we're going to be talking about. On the front end, we have all of our Astro code. And that, for the most part, lives within the source folder. So I have some other code in this project that's in the public folder, things like a script for creating our video widget. And we'll go into that in later videos. But the major thing that you need to know right now is that most of our front-end code, or most of our Astro code, is in the source folder. Within the source folder, there's going to be a number of subfolders that should look familiar to you if you have worked with Astro before, one of which is the Pages folder. And when you open that up, this is, remember, Apollo, a full-fledged Astro project. And one thing, if you're used to working with Astro, that you'll find a little odd here is that we only have one page in here, our ... slug.astro component. Now, that slug.astro component is going to handle all of the templates for displaying our various different page types. So this is a little different. In a normal Astro project, we'd have a number of pages and perhaps also some subfolders in here that dictate where different templates are supposed to come from during the routing session. Well, in this case, all of our routing is being handled by Apostrophe CMS and is brought to the front end through this slug file. And the major thing, as we'll go into, that does this is our Apos page fetch. And that's going to go ahead and figure out what template needs to be rendered for a particular URL. As far as our actual templates go, they're going to live in this templates folder. And the one thing that I want to especially stress here or get into as far as pages goes is that all of our Apostrophe pages need to be mapped so that Astro knows the proper template to render when that URL is called. So if we look here, there's a index.js file within our templates folder. And within that, we're loading all of our different page templates that are Astro components, so homepage, default page, article page, and we're mapping them over to specific Apostrophe CMS page types. So within the backend, as we'll go into, we can have a variety of different page types. For example, one of the core page types is a home page. That home page is normally parked or is a permanent part at the root of our page tree. And in this case, what we're saying is that anytime somebody navigates to that home page, we want to basically deliver or render this home page template. And that maps here to our homepage.astro component. So anytime you create a page, you're going to have to also update this index.js file to link those together. As we'll go into a little bit later, we can also add some extra routing information to our page type. So for pieces in Apostrophe, things like articles, those pieces are going to be either shown, all the pieces for our project shown at once, or in pages actually, on an index.html page, or we can also show just individual articles, individual pieces And that's on a show.html page. So here we can pass that information in. So by default, these don't have a colon at the end, but what they're actually providing by default is :page. And that's because within Apostrophe CMS, it's expecting the template to have the file name page.html. And so that's just provided by default. Okay, so just so you know, right now, by default and in this Apollo project, all of our templates are mapped through this templates index.js. If we drill into the astro.config file, what we can see is that we're passing that to our apostrophe integration. So the apostrophe Astro extension is in our node modules. It's installed through npm, and we can pass a number of different options to it, including our templates mapping right here. And we're saying that that should map to our source templates folder. And you probably won't need to, but you can if you desire change that. Okay, so the next thing that I want to jump into that's very similar to what happens in Apostrophe CMS, but is slightly different, is how the page layout occurs. So we have our templates, and all of our template content is actually going to go to one specific place in our slug page. So looking back at the slug again, our slug component, we can see scrolling down here that we have this AposLayout component, and we can see that we're adding some stuff into this standard head slot. But the majority of our content is actually going to be slotted in. Just got to scroll down and find it here. On the other side of this fragment, it's going to be slotted right here. Apos template, this component, is going to be slotted into our main slot. So let's take a quick look at the Apostrophe Astro extension that we are configuring within the astro.config down here. Let's just jump into that. I've got it pulled up in another window, but this actually resides in the Apollo project within the node modules folder. So looking at that AposLayout component, here, we can see that there's a number of different named slots. So start body, start head, standard head, extra head, before main, main, after main, and end body. So this is very reminiscent, if you're coming from the Apostrophe CMS development world, this is very similar to the blocks that are provided within the layout, within the Apostrophe layout. So here we're working with components. So instead of them being blocks, they're actually slots within the layout component. However, one limitation of the Astro system, the way it's currently implemented, is that we don't have access to all of these slots within our normal templates. Okay, so within the slug template, you could see we could access standard head, and we were putting things like style sheets into there. And then the majority of our template content, however, was going into this main slot. So unlike Apostrophe, where any template can add to any of these different, in that case, blocks, here, the slug file, the .slug.astro file, can contribute to any of these, but our other templates, like our default page or our homepage page layouts, are only going to be able to add components here into or add code markup into the main slot. So if you want to see some ways you can get around that limitation, or ways that you can work a little bit better with that limitation, I recommend that you look at the written tutorial that's accompanying this video. Okay, so now let's jump back and look once again at our slug file. So at the top of the slug file, you see there's three imports: import apos page fetch, import apos layout, and import apos template. The second two here are components, right? They're both Astro components, and they're used, as I said, down here to put all of the content onto the page. So the layout is used within the slug file to do things like add the page title, and you can also use it to add things like your scripts that you want on all the pages, or your style sheets that you want on all the pages, into your head, into your extra head, things like that. And then within that main slot, again, we're passing that second component, the Apos template. So you can see here for the Apollo project, we have two other components that are being added in the slug, a header and a footer, and both of those are getting Apos data And the template is also getting APOS data. So that APOS data is the way we can access all of the content that's being added into our module schema fields, into the global, and make or expose that data over into our templates. So when a URL call comes in, again, what happens is the APOS page fetch goes ahead and passes the Astro request over to the Apostrophe Astro integration extension. That's going to then return all of the data that is accompanying that particular request. It's also going to pass back some other data, things like if there are any widgets on the page, it'll pass the widget data. It'll pass if there are piece pages where there's multiple pieces. It'll pass either an array of pieces or a paginated array of pieces, depending on how you have it set up. And it'll pass the global data object back. So this APOS data is going to have all of that, and you can then pass that over to your templates to go ahead and get the content back. So one thing that I maybe should have gone into before that you're not going to exactly know right from the get-go if you're coming from an ApostropheCMS background, or if you've never worked with Astro before, is the actual page structure. So let's just go to a little bit simpler, more simple page. And we'll go to our default page. So when you drop back, your slug is just going to be a very complicated looking template, but all of these templates are kind of the same. And the important thing in the Astro world is that they all contain this front matter between these two code braces here. And basically that's all functions and code that's going to run server side. So it's going to be when the page request is made and it's processed on the server to render the final markup, that's all stuff that's going to be run on the server side. Whereas down here below that front matter is going to be things like your HTML markup. So here, this is our HTML markup where outputting an area onto this page, and I should drop back in a second and tell you about areas. We're putting an area onto the page that we're passing in a particular schema field, the main schema field, into that in order for processing and output of the markup. What's not shown here, maybe we can look at one of the other pages to see this. In addition to, nope, we don't have it in any of the other pages. It doesn't look like. Maybe this one. Taking a look. Yeah, here we go. So in addition to the markup that we have here, we can also add things like style tags on. This is going to scope the style just to this page. And you can go ahead and pass any kind of styles you want into it. When working with Astro, you can also choose to make this style, this block of styling global by adding a flag to it that says global. The other thing that you can add to your template page that isn't shown in any of these particular templates, but it is in our widgets that we'll come back to later. Actually, we can show one of those right now. If we just take a look at the card widget, scroll down here, we've got a style block again. And we also should have, maybe I picked a bad one. Here we go. In addition to the style block, we can also have a script block. And this just is where you're going to put any code that needs to be expressed client side. So again, the front matter is all for code that is going to be exposed server side and goes into creating and rendering the page, whereas code within the script block is going to be run client side. So anything like, a widget player, any kind of JavaScript that you need to manage your page is going to be put into a script block. And again, there's flags that can control when this is hydrated and where this is hydrated. Now, I hope that you kind of understand the overall structure of our Astro pages. Again, we have the front matter let's go to the simpler page. We have the front matter for our server-side scripting, things like bringing in components and exposing any data that we need to for rendering our page. And then After that, we're going to have our template section, which is going to supply the markup to the page. It's going to utilize things like imported components or data that we've brought in through the frontmatter. And then we can have optional style and script blocks, which are going to provide client-side styling, client-side scripting, and there's a bunch of stuff we can do to alter how that is processed and shown. So we'll actually come back to areas in another video. Just to summarize really quickly, though, if you come from the Apostrophe CMS development background, you already know what areas are. There are places on the page where you can add what are called widgets, and those widgets allow you to add content in a very dynamic way. So we're going to go all into widgets in our Apollo project later, but you have things that allow you to arrange content, things like a row widget or a grid layout widget. And you have others that directly put content onto the page, like that card widget and hero widgets that I sort of scrolled by earlier. So again, just to summarize, the slug.astro, the .slug.astro file is going to receive all the requests. It's going to fetch the data from Apostrophe CMS. It's going to select the right template based on the page type using that template mapping that I showed. And then the template data is going to be rendered. The template data from Apostrophe CMS is going to be rendered onto the page and placed in the main slot of the overall page structure. So in the next video, we're going to build on this foundation and create an actual page type. We'll walk through the default page type a little bit more and maybe create a template from scratch. See you in the next video.